Hey there, it's Jan Zuiderduin here, founder of LearnSolidWorks.com, and today I'm going to show you how to mold this beautiful toothbrush in SolidWorks. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so we're going to start this lesson by making a 2D sketch because we're going to draw the main shape of a toothbrush. So this contour right here. So we're going to start by opening a new part. Now we're going to change the background color. So click at the Appearance drop-down menu and select Plain White. Alright, now we're going to create a new sketch on the front plane. So select the front plane in the feature tree and click at the 2D sketch icon again. Now we're going to draw a center line. So click at the center line command and we're going to draw a vertical center line up till here. Now hit escape to close the center line command and we're going to create another center line starting at this point right here up till here. Now hit escape again and we're going to create a third center line starting from here up till here. And now we're going to create another center line from here up till here. And by the way, if you want to create new center lines, you can also click at the enter in case to reopen the previous command. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply a couple of smart dimensions because we're going to use those center lines in order to define the main shape of our toothbrush. So we're going to make sure to add a horizontal relation between those points right here. And we're going to make sure that the length of those lines is equal by clicking at the equal icon. Now we're going to make sure that the distance between those two lines is 160 millimeters. And we're going to make sure that the distance between those two lines is 26 millimeters. Now this line is fully defined, so now we're also going to apply a dimension between those two lines, and the length between those two lines will be 44 millimeters. And the length of this vertical line right here will be 8.5 millimeters. Just like that. Alright, now we're going to define the length of this line right here, and this line will have a length of 7 millimeters. And we're going to make sure that the distance between those two points will be 9.5 millimeters. And now we're going to make sure that the height between those two points is 10 millimeters. Alright, this looks good. Now we're going to disable the trailing zeros because we have 0.00 behind every dimension. And we can do that by going to Document Properties, Dimensions, and if we click at the trailing zeros right here, we can click at Remove Trailing Zeros and click OK. And now we don't see those unnecessary zeros anymore. Alright, we can align our dimensions a little bit more. This looks about right. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a couple of splines. So click at the spline command and we're going to draw a 2-point spline from this point up to this point. Now we're going to draw a second spline from this point up till this point. Now hit escape to close the line command. Now we're going to draw a third spline from here up till here. Hit escape again. Now we're going to create another spline from this point right here up till this point right here. And now we can activate our spline handles. So if we're going to zoom in on one of the splines, we can select the spline and now we can activate the spline handles by clicking to those handles right here. And we're going to make sure that this handle right here has a horizontal relation. So click at Make Horizontal. And we're going to make sure that the length of the spline handle will be 60 millimeters. Alright, now we're going to make sure that the length of this spline handle will be 55 millimeters. And the angle between the spline handle and this vertical center line right here will be 100 degrees. Alright, this looks good. Alright, now we're going to apply a couple more smart dimensions to the other splines. So we're going to activate this spline handle right here. We're going to drag to those handles. And now we're going to make sure that this spline handle will also have a horizontal relation. So click at make horizontal again. And this spline handle right here, we're going to make sure that this one is horizontal as well. So select the endpoint and click at make horizontal again. And now we're going to make sure to define the length of those spline handles as well. So this spline handle will have a length of 75 millimeters, and this spline handle will have a length of 40 millimeters. All right, this looks good. Now we're going to activate this spline handle right here. We're going to drag a little bit to it in order to adjust the shape. And we're going to make sure that the length of this spline handle will be 40 millimeters, and the angle between the spline handle and the vertical edge right here will be 120 degrees. All right, this looks good. Now we're going to move this dimension a little bit. And now we're going to look to the less spline handle on this side right here. So we click at Smart Dimensions again, and we're going to make sure that the length of this spline handle will be 200 millimeters. And the angle between the vertical edge right here and the spline handle will be 85 degrees. All right, now this spline also looks good. Now we're going to activate this spline right here, and we're going to select this spline handle, and we're going to make sure that the spline handle is horizontal again. And we're going to make sure that the length of this spline handle will be 40 millimeters. Just like that. All right. Now we're going to adjust this a little bit. We're going to make sure that this spline handle will have a length of 45 millimeters. And we're going to make sure that the angle between the vertical center line and this spline handle will be 84 degrees. And the length of this spline handle will be 150 millimeters. All right, this looks good. Now we're going to zoom in on this endpoint right here. And we're going to click at the style spline. And we're going to draw a style spline from here up till here. And we're going to make sure to have two spline points in between. Now we're going to apply a tendency relation between the center line and the initial spline. And we're going to do the same thing for this side right here. And we're going to make sure that this center line has a vertical relation. All right, now we're going to make sure that the length between those two vertical center lines will be 9 millimeters. Now our style spline is fully defined, so this looks good. We can move those dimensions a little bit. All right, this looks pretty nice. All right, so now we've created the 2D sketch of our main contour. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply some surface lofts in order to create this curved shape right here. So we're going to divide our main sketch into multiple segments, which we're going to loft individually, and then we're going to make surface transitions between each of those lofts later on. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create an extruded surface. So click at the extruded surface command right here, and we're going to make sure to set the extrusion depth to 5 millimeters, and we're going to reverse the direction, and now click OK. Alright, now we're going to create a new sketch on the top plane again. So select the top plane, click at the 2D sketch icon. We're going to zoom in on the front section right here, and now we're going to draw an ellipse. So click at the ellipse icon, and we're going to start the midpoint of the ellipse right here till the origin. And now we're going to make sure to connect this point with this point right here by holding down the Ctrl key and select coincident to connect both points. Now we're also going to make sure to make those 2 points vertical from each other. And we're going to make sure that the length between those 2 points is 6 millimeters. Now we're going to draw another center line from here up till here. And we're going to make sure to use the trim entities to select the power trim in order to trim this part of the line away. Alright, now we're going to draw another surface extrude, so click at the surface extrude option, and we're going to click it up to further vertex. We're going to select this corner point right here. Now click OK, and now we have created a beautiful surface extrude. Alright, now we're going to create a surface loft between those two edges right here. So select those two edges as loft profiles, and we're going to make sure to set those tendency to face. So click at tendency to face and change the value into 4. And we're also going to change the second profile to tendency to face and set it to 4 as well. Now click OK. And now we're going to create a new sketch on the top plane. So select the top plane, click at the 2D sketch icon. We're going to zoom in on this section right here. And now we're going to create an offset entities. So make sure to set the offset distance to 1.5 millimeters. And we're going to select this vertical edge right here. Now we're going to select this vertical edge again and click at 2.5, and we're going to reverse the direction. Now we're going to extend those lines a little bit. So make sure to drag to the endpoints up till here. And now we're going to click at trim surface in order to trim this part of our lofted surface away, as well as this surface extrude right here. Now click at remove selections, and now the purple sections will be removed. Alright, this looks good. Now we're going to create a new sketch on the front plane again. So select the front plane, click at normal 2. We're going to zoom in on this point right here. And now we're going to create another ellipse. And the ellipse will start at the center of this edge up till here. This looks good. Hit escape to close the ellipse command, and we're going to make them horizontal. Alright, now click at Smart Dimensions, and we're going to make sure that the distance between the midpoint and the outer edge is 1 millimeter. Now our ellipse is black, which means it's fully defined. Now we're also going to draw a vertical center line right here. We're going to click at Trim Entities. Now we're going to click and drag in order to remove this part of the ellipse. We're going to click at Surfaces again. Now click at the swept surface. We're going to select the ellipse right here as a sweep profile, and we're going to select this pink edge right here as a sweep path. Now click OK, and now we have created a beautiful sweep. Now we can hide the initial surface extrude right here, and now we're going to zoom in on this point right here, because we're going to create a surface transition between those two edges. So click at Surface Loft, and we're going to select this edge right here and this edge right here. And we're going to make sure to set the start end constraints to tendency to face. And we're going to change the value into 1.5. Now do the same thing for the second profile, and now click OK. And now we have created a beautiful surface transition between those two surfaces right here. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new plane. So click at the Reference Geometry drop-down menu, select Plane, and we're going to select this point right here as a first reference. Now we're going to open our feature tree. Now we're going to select the right plane right here. We're going to close our feature tree again, and now click OK. Alright, now we're going to create a new sketch on this newly created plane. So click at the 2D sketch icon in order to create a new 2D sketch. We're going to create a style spline again. So click at style spline, and we're going to draw a style spline from here up till here, up till here, up till here. Now hit escape. We're going to switch our view to normal 2, and we're going to make sure to set this one to hidden lines only. Now we're going to make sure to make this line horizontal and this center line as well. Now click at Smart Dimensions, and we're going to make sure that the length of this horizontal line will be 8 millimeters. This looks good. Now we're going to make sure to set the angle between those two center lines to 75 degrees. And now we can close the sketch. Alright, now we're going to switch back to shaded with edges. And now we're going to And then we're going to hide this plane right here. So select the plane, click at the eye icon to hide the plane. And now we're going to create a new surface loft. So click at lofted surface right here. And we're going to select this profile right here as our first profile. And this will be our second profile. And now we're also going to select the guide curves, and we're going to select this guide curve right here and this guide curve right here. And now we're going to make sure to set the surface start end constraints to tendency to face right here. And we're going to make sure to set the value to 3, and the end constraint will be tendency to face as well. And we're also going to make sure to set this one to 3 as well. Now click OK, and now we have created another beautiful surface loft right here. Alright, now we're going to make sure to fill this surface right here. And in order to do that, we're going to use the filled surface. Therefore, we're going to select those two edges right here. Make sure to click at apply to all edges, and we're going to apply a tendency relation. We're going to make sure to set it to tangent. We're going to deselect the optimized surface and now click OK. And now we have created a beautiful surface. Alright, so now we've created this main shape right here, and we also created this main shape right here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create this surface transition right here. And once we have created this surface transition, we're also going to create the surface transition in this area right here, because we have created this surface and we created this surface, but of course we also want to have a smooth transition in this area right here. So that's what we're going to do next. Alright, now we're going to hide our surface extrude because we don't need it anymore. And we're going to select the front plane and click at the 2D sketch icon in order to create a new sketch on the front plane again. Now click at offset entities, and we're going to select this edge. Make sure to set the offset distance to 2 mm and click it bidirectional in order to make an offset in both directions. Now we can click and drag to the end point of those sketches right here in order to extend them a little bit. And now we're going to trim those two surfaces right here. So click at the trim surface, select the remove selections, and this will make sure that our purple surfaces will be deleted. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new transition between those two surfaces right here. And therefore we're going to create a new sketch on the right plane. So we're going to create a new spline, and we're going to make sure to add a couple of transitions between those spline and the endpoints by clicking at the edge, select the spline, and now add a tendency relation to both sides of our spline. Now we're going to make sure that the spline handles will have a length of 6 mm. And now we're going to create a style spline for the lower section right here. So we're going to select those lines right here. We're going to apply a tendency relation right here. Now we're going to select this edge, hold down your Ctrl key and click at make tangent again. And now we're going to make sure to delete this endpoint right here, this spline point right here. And we're going to make sure that this center line right here and this center line will be equal. So we're going to select them both by holding down your Ctrl key and click at make equal. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new surface extrude. So click at the surface extrude, make sure to set the surface direction and depth to 2 mm. Click at reverse and now click OK. Alright, this looks good. Now we're going to click at the boundary surface, and we're going to create a boundary surface between those two faces right here by selecting the first edge and now select the second edge. And now we're also going to select this third edge right here and the fourth edge right here. Now this is not looking exactly how we want it, so we're going to delete those last two edges right here. So click at delete, and now we're going to select the direction toolbox right here. Now we can select this line again, and we're going to do the same thing for the other line right here. So select this line as well. Alright, this looks much better. Now, of course, we also need to apply a transition right here. So click at the tendency to face. We're also going to set the second one to tendency to face. And we're also going to make sure to set those two to tendency to face. Alright, this looks pretty good. Now we can also adjust the tendency influence, and we're going to make sure to set the tendency influence to 100%. And we're going to do the same thing for the tendency influence right here. Set this one also to 100% and now click OK. Alright, this looks good. Now we can hide our surface extrude because this was only a help surface. And now we have created a beautiful surface transition right here. Alright, now it's time to knit all those surfaces together. So we're going to select the first, second, third, fourth and fifth surface right here. Now click at Merge Entities and click OK. And now we have merged all those surfaces together. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a mirror. So select the front plane in the feature tree. And we're going to click at Bodies to Mirror right here. Now select the knit surfaces and click OK. Alright, this looks pretty good. Now we're going to click at the planar surface. We're going to zoom in a little bit and we're going to select those two lines right here in order to create a planar surface. Now click OK. Alright, now we're going to create another planar surface for the other side. So we're going to select this edge right here and this edge right here. Now click OK again. This looks good. Now we can knit all those surfaces together. So we're going to select each of those three surfaces in order to knit them all together. Alright, this looks good. Now we're going to create a new sketch on the top plane. So select the top plane, click at the 2D sketch icon. We're going to zoom in to this edge right here. Now we're going to click at the spline command. We're going to draw a spline from here up till here. Now hit escape to close the spline command, and now we're going to make sure that this midpoint and the end point of the spline will be vertical to each other. And we're also going to make sure to add the tendency relation between the spline and the edge right here. Now we're also going to apply a horizontal relation right here. We're going to make sure that the length of this spline handle will be 7.5 millimeters. And we're also going to make sure that the length of this spline handle will be set to 7.5 millimeters as well. We're going to make sure that the distance between the spline and the midpoint will be 0.5 millimeters. Alright, now click at the centerline command and we're going to draw a centerline from here up till here. Now click at the mirror entities. We're going to select this spline right here. Click at mirror about and we're going to select the centerline. Now click OK. And now we're going to make sure to draw a vertical line right here. Hit escape to close the line command. We're going to click at the trim surfaces and now we can select this face right here. We want to keep the purple face. We only want to delete the blue face and now click OK. And now we have deleted those small surfaces right here. And now, of course, we're going to fill those surfaces again using the filled surface option. So select one edge, right click, select open loop. Now we're going to make sure to set the surface transition to tangent. Make sure it's set to apply to all edges. And we're going to deselect the optimized surface. And we're going to select the merge results and now click OK. Alright, this looks good. Now we're going to repeat this process for the other side. So click at the filled surface command again. Now right click on the edge, select open loop. Make sure to set the transition to tangent. We're going to deselect the optimized surface. Make sure that apply to all edges is enabled. And now we're going to click at the merge result again. And we're also going to click at create solid in order to create a solid geometry of our surfaces. Alright, we just created the base of our toothbrush. This looks pretty good. If you now make a section view, you can see that we now have a solidified model. Alright, we can turn off the section view again. Alright, so we now created beautiful surface transitions right here and right here. And you can see in this rendering that it looks pretty good. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create those brushes right here. So we're first going to model one of those hairs, and then we're going to pattern those hairs right here. And I'm also going to show you how to make this waved shape right here. All right. So we're going to continue by making a new sketch on this face right here. So select this face, click at the 2D sketch icon, select normal 2, and now we're going to reuse one of our earlier sketches, and we're going to use the sketch in Surface Extrude 2 right here. So we're going to click at sketch 2, and now we're going to use this midpoint of the sketch in order to create a new circle. So draw a new circle. We're going to make sure that the diameter of this circle is set to 0.5 millimeters. And now we can hide the sketch again because we don't need it anymore. Alright, now we're going to create an extrude. So click at extruded boss base. We're going to make sure that the direction is pointing upwards like this. And we're going to change the length of our hair into 8 millimeter. Now click OK. Alright, this looks good. Now we're going to create a new sketch on this face right here, because we're going to use a fill pattern to pattern our hair over this entire area. And therefore I need to create a sketch in order to define the pattern area. Alright, so we're going to make sketch 2 visible again. We're going to zoom in a little bit. And now I'm going to create a new ellipse. So click the ellipse drop down menu right here. Select the ellipse, and we're going to start the ellipse at the midpoint right here, up till this point right here, up till this point right here. Now make sure to connect this endpoint with the center line by snapping it to the center line midpoint. Now we can hide sketch 2 again. And now we're going to edit our newly created sketch right here. Click at normal 2. We're going to zoom in a little bit. And now we're going to click at the centerline command again, and we're going to draw a vertical centerline right here. Now we're going to close the sketch. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pattern our hair over the entire surface. And therefore we're going to click at the pattern drop down menu and click at fill pattern. Now click at fill boundary, and that will be this sketch right here. Now we're going to define the path direction, and that will be this construction line right here. Now we're going to scroll down a little bit. And we're going to use this feature in order to pattern. So click at the extrude pattern. Now we're going to define a pattern distance, and we're going to set this to 0.75. And we're going to make sure that this value right here is set to 0.025. All right. Now this looks pretty good, and this way we have created many hairs with one single feature. Now we can hide our earlier created sketch, and we're going to create a new sketch on the front plane. So select the front plane, click at the 2D sketch icon, and now we're going to create the waved pattern on top of our hairs. And therefore we're going to zoom in a little bit, click at normal 2, and now I'm going to create a center line starting at this point right here up till this endpoint right here. All right. Now we're going to hide our filled pattern because we don't need it right now. And now I'm going to draw some zigzag lines. So we're going to draw 2 lines right here. We click at make equal to give them the same length. And now we're going to apply some smart dimensions, and we're going to make sure that the height between the center line and this point right here will be 1 millimeter. All right. Now we're going to click at the linear sketch pattern. We're going to select those 2 lines right here. We're going to adjust the number of instances to 4 and the spacing to 5 millimeter. And now click OK. And now we have patterned our sketch. Now if we drag to one of those points right here, we can adjust the pattern. And we're going to make sure to snap the endpoints to each other. And now you can see that the sketch turns black, which means it's fully defined. Alright, this looks good. Now we're going to create a surface extrude. So click at the surfaces extrude option. We're going to make sure that the depth is set to 15 millimeters and direction 1 is set to mid plane. Now click OK. Alright, now we're going to create a fillet to the edges. So we're going to select this edge right here. And now we're going to click at internal to feature in order to select all those inner lines all at once. And now we're going to change the fillet size into 1 millimeter. So type in 1 and click OK. Alright, this will be our help surface. Now we can show our fill pattern again. And now we're going to use this surface in order to cut the upper part of those hair bodies away. And therefore we're going to use the cut with surface option. So click at cut with surface. We're going to select our newly created surface extrude. And now we're going to zoom in a little bit. And now we're going to make sure that the arrow is pointing upwards like this. And this is the direction that the surface cut will cut the material away. So this looks good. Alright, now we're going to hide our surface body because we don't need it anymore. So select the body and click at hide. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply some materials to our hair bodies right here. And therefore we're going to select boss extrude 1 right here. We're going to hold down the Ctrl key, click at the fill pattern and the surface extrude. And now we're going to click at the surface drop down menu right here. And we're going to select surface extrude. So we're going to apply material to the features right here. And now we're going to click at the appearances drop down menu and we're going to apply a matte rubber, for example. And of course you can use any material you like. So let's say this one should be 0, 142 and 223 to make it a little bit more blue. Alright, this is pretty good. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply some split lines so we can apply multiple colors to those faces right here. Now we're going to continue by making the split lines onto our main body. And therefore we're going to create a new sketch on the front plane. So select the front plane in the feature tree, click at the 2D sketch icon, select normal 2, and now we're going to create a new offset entity sketch. So click at offset entities, make sure to set the offset distance to 2.5, and make sure that the bidirectional is turned off, and we make sure that the offset is pointing downwards like this. Alright, this looks pretty good. Now we're going to click and drag to the endpoint in order to move the endpoints a little bit. And now we're going to apply some smart dimensions and the distance between this line right here and the left endpoint of our spline will be 15 millimeters. Now the distance between this right endpoint and this point right here will be 20 millimeters. Alright. Now we're going to use the offset entities in order to offset this edge again. Make sure to turn on the reverse direction and also click at offset geometry and we're going to click at point 1. And the reason I'm creating this center line is because I want to make sure that our sketch is fully intersecting with our geometry. And if I snap the endpoints of our lines at the edge, there is a chance it will not work. So therefore I'm creating some center lines in order to make sure that our sketch is fully intersecting with our model. And now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a style spline starting at this point right here, up till here, up till somewhere around here. Now I'm going to make sure to make those two lines tangent. Now you will get an error, that's not what we want of course, so we're going to delete this tangency relation and now we're going to select the center line and this spline right here and now we're going to apply a tangency relation and this will work. Alright, now we're going to select the endpoint of our spline, hold down your Ctrl key and select the center line and we're going to make sure to add a coincident relation between those two. And now we're going to make sure that the distance between those 2 points is 14 millimeters. Now we're also going to define the angle between those center lines right here. make sure it's set to 125 degrees. And now we're going to create a new style spline starting at this point right here, up till here, up till somewhere around here. Now hit escape to close the style spline command. Now we're going to select our spline, hold down your Ctrl key, select the center line, and we're going to apply a tendency relation. Now we're going to select the right endpoint right here, select the center line again, and click it Make Coincident. Alright, now we're going to apply some smart dimensions again. We're going to make sure that the distance between those 2 points right here will be 18 millimeters. Now hit enter. And we're going to make sure that the angle between those 2 center lines right here will be set to 150 degrees. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create an offset entities for the lower edge right here. And therefore we're going to click at offset entities, make sure that the offset is pointing outward. So click at reverse and make sure that the offset distance is set to 0.1 millimeter. And now we have created a new center line. Alright, now we're going to create a new style spline starting somewhere around here, up till here, up till here, up till here. Hit escape. Then we're going to change our display style, get a better view on our sketch. Now we're going to select this endpoint right here, select the center line and click it Make Coincident. And we're going to do the same thing for the other side, so select the endpoint, click at the center line, Make Coincident again. Alright, now we're going to apply some smart dimensions and we're going to make sure that the distance between those 2 points is 10 millimeters. And the distance between those 2 points right here will be, let's say, 6 millimeters. Alright, this looks good. Now we're going to apply a new center line, starting at the midpoint right here, up till here. And we're going to make sure that this line is horizontal, so click at Make Horizontal. And now we're going to make sure that those 3 lines right here are symmetric. And this way we can create a symmetric curve. Now we're going to apply some more smart dimensions. So click at Smart Dimension and we're going to make sure that the length of this horizontal center line is set to 55 millimeters. Alright, this looks good. Now we're going to drag to this endpoint right here to make our curve a little bit higher. Now I'm going to apply another smart dimension. And I'm going to make sure that the angle between those 2 lines is 60 degrees. And now our sketch turns black, which means it's fully defined. And that's because we made our center line symmetric. And that's why the other side is also black right now. This looks pretty nice. We can change our display style back to shaded with edges. We're going to click at surfaces. So now we're going to use the split line in order to split our surfaces. And this way we can apply different colors to different surfaces. So select split line. We're going to select this face right here. And we're also going to select this face right here. And now click OK. And now we have created a split line onto our surface. So our model is still one solid geometry, but we created split lines onto those surfaces right here. Alright, now we're also going to create split lines to the front section of our toothbrush, and therefore we're going to create a new sketch on the front plane. We're going to create a new horizontal line right here. We're going to apply some smart dimensions, and we're going to make sure that the distance between this line and the origin is set to 1 millimeter. Alright, now we're going to create a new center line and we're going to offset the center line from this edge right here. Make sure that the offset distance is set to 0.1 millimeter. And we're also going to do that for this edge right here. Oops, that's the wrong one. We're going to close the offset entities command and we're going to reopen it. And now we're going to make sure to select this edge right here. Make sure to set the offset distance to 0.1 again. and make sure that the offset is pointing outward. Right, so we're going to create a new style spline. So click at the style spline command, and we're going to draw a point right here. We're going to make one point right here. Click escape to close the style spline command, and now we're going to connect the endpoint of our style spline with the center line by holding down your Ctrl key and click at make coincident. We're going to drag a little bit to this line right here. This looks good. And now we're going to apply another smart dimension from this point right here up till this point right here. And we're going to make sure to set the distance to 30 millimeters, and the angle between those two center lines right here will be set to 120 degrees. Now we're going to create a 3-point arc, starting at the center line right here up till this center line right here. And we're going to draw an arc like this. And we're also going to apply some smart dimensions, and we're going to make sure that the distance between those 2 points is set to, let's say, 1, for example, and the distance between those 2 points is set to, let's say, 8. All right. Now we're also going to apply a radius, and the radius is set to 30 millimeters. All right, this looks good. And now we're going to create a new split line again. So click at the search box, select split line, and we're going to make sure to select this face right here, this face, and this face, and also those faces on the other side right here, in order to split our surfaces. Now click OK, and now we have split our surfaces again. Alright, this looks pretty nice. Now we're going to copy the material of our hair. So we're going to select one surface of our hair bodies, right click, copy appearances. Now we're going to select all the faces we want to apply the color on by holding down your Ctrl key. So we're going to select all those faces right here and click at paste appearances. Now we're going to make those 5 ribs right here. Alright, so we're going to continue by making a new sketch on the top plane. So select the top plane in the feature tree, click at the 2D sketch icon. We're going to zoom in a little bit, and now we're going to use the center point straight slot right here. And we're going to draw a slot right here. Now we're going to apply some smart dimensions. And we're going to make sure that the length of this vertical center line is set to 5 millimeters, and the radius right here is set to 0.75 millimeters. And the distance between this point and this point will be set to 3 millimeters. This looks good. Now we're going to apply a linear sketch pattern. So we're going to select this sketch, make sure that distance 1 is set to 2.5 millimeters, and the number of instances is set to 5. And now click OK. Alright, now we're going to apply some smart dimensions right here as well. And we're going to make sure that the distance between those two lines is 2.5 millimeter. And this will fully define our sketch. Alright, now we're going to split those faces as well. So click at the split line command, and we're going to select those 2 faces in order to split them. And now we're going to copy the appearances of this face right here. Now we're going to select this face, hold down your Ctrl key, and we're also going to select those faces right here. This face as well. Now right click and paste appearances in order to paste the appearances. Alright, now we're going to apply some thickness to those ribs right here. And therefore we're going to create an offset surface. We're going to select those faces right here and those faces right here as well. Now make sure that the offset distance is set to 0 millimeters, and this will basically copy our surface. Now we're going to click at the thicken command. We're going to change the thickness into 0.25 millimeter, and now click OK. And we're going to do the same thing for the second surface right here. So click OK again, and for the third surface right here, click OK again. And of course also for those last 2 surfaces right here, and make sure that the thickness is set to 0.25 millimeters for all those ribs. Alright, this looks good. Now we're also going to apply some fillets to the edges. Make sure that the radius is set to 1 millimeter. And now we're going to select this face right here. this face right here, this face right here, and of course those last two faces right here as well. All right, now click OK. And now we have created beautiful ribs to our toothbrush. All right, now we're also going to adjust the material of our main body. So select one of those faces right here, click at the appearance drop down menu, and we're going to select the part. And let's browse to the plastic folder right here. We're going to use the satin finish, cream satin finish plastic, for example. This looks nice. And of course, we can apply any color you would like. All right, this looks pretty good. Now we're going to close the plastic command box right here, and we're going to change the scene. So click at basic scenes. We click at the backdrop studio room 2. Now we're going to turn on our render tools. Click at edit scene. And we're going to make sure to set the background to color. And now click OK. Now you can see that the toothbrush is floating above the ground. So we're going to rotate our entire body a little bit by going to the move feature. So click at the search bar, select the move/copy bodies, and we're going to select our toothbrush body right here. And now we're going to rotate this body, make sure that the Z axis is set to -4.3 degrees. Make sure that copy is disabled, and now click OK. All right, this looks much better. Now, if you look closely to the floor, you can see that our toothbrush is still floating above the floor a little bit. So we're going to click at edit scenes again. And we're going to click at offset to geometry. And now the model will snap to the floor. All right, now we're going to turn off our shaded with edges. And we're going to hide our feature tree right here. And we also can turn on the shadow. And of course also the ambient occlusion if we want. And now we have created a beautiful, beautiful toothbrush. All right, now if I look closely to the hairs, you can see that the material is not applied to the top surfaces of our hairs. So that's something we're going to adjust. So we're going to turn off the ambient occlusion. We're going to show our feature tree again. Now I'm going to copy the appearances right here. We're going to select a feature tree. And we're going to select the surface cut right here, and now we can paste the material to this feature right here. And now you can see that we applied the material to the top section of our hairs as well. All right, this looks pretty nice. All right, guys, that's all for this lesson. I know it was a long video, but I hope you found it very valuable. Now, if you want to learn more about SOLIDWORKS, I highly recommend to go to learnsolidworks.com, and there you will find many more SOLIDWORKS tutorials. Now, if you like this video, I also want to ask you to give this video a thumbs up, and also make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. This way you are sure that you're not missing any upcoming videos anymore. Thanks a lot for watching, and I talk to you soon.